In a minute. Hey guys, welcome into another edition of Make Every Second Count Live. Now, I am your host, Jeff Marconette Jr., the international Make Every Second Count speaker. And I am proud and honored to be here with my guest tonight, the potential finder, Miss Jeanie McGarvey. Now,
Hi, everybody.
if you would like to tell everybody a little about yourself, I wouldn't be against that.
Sure thing. Hi, everyone. I'm Jeanie McGarvey, the Potential Finder. And the first question you might ask is, how do I know Jeff? Well, Jeff and I were a part of the International Speakers Academy, the Impact Speakers Academy with Greg Walker, and that was in Columbus, Ohio last year. And we met through this speakers conference and just really connected on our messages and have been friends since. And actually, just recently went to the second Impact Speakers Academy with Greg Walker, which was just a month ago. So that's how I know Jeff. And a little bit about me, I am a 20-something motivational speaker. In the evening and during the day, I am a retail store manager. But I think the most interesting thing about me that most people figure out for themselves or learn pretty quickly is that I was born with hand deformities on both of my hands. So it's a thing called congenital constriction band syndrome, and basically that's a really fancy name for the fact that I had deformities. When I was born, all my fingers were actually connected together, and I have had several surgeries, in fact over 20 surgeries, in order to separate my fingers, have them be functioning, and make them more usable and better to look at, I guess. So obviously growing up with hand deformities has had its challenges, and there's been many stories that I'm sure I'll get into this evening. But that's the biggest part of who I am, is my hand deformities and what I've been able to overcome because of them. And I call myself the potential finder because I believe that everyone has infinite potential, and I see that in others, and I want to help others see that in themselves and also see it in the people around them, and create a community of potential finders who just believe in one another and believe in that infinite potential that we all have.
Awesome. I thank you so much, Jeannie, for telling us all that. Now, I am actually inviting some people here, and I hope everybody out there can invite some people as well. And remind people they can watch the replay if they can't watch it live. But share this video out, please, because I know that Jeannie is one powerful person, and I want her to be able to speak to the world. And I hope you guys will help me get her started. So, well, we on this show. Oh darn it! Hang on, sorry. I'm caught up at the moment. All right, so uh, first of all, I want to say hi to some people, and hi to Christine Kozuchuk. Thank you so much for watching from Charlotte, North Carolina. Hi, Jean Cagino or something. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, and I'm sorry about that. Hi to Matthew Hammond, and thank you for watching from Seattle, Washington. Hi to my dad. I'm glad you're awake, Dad. And he's watching from across the street. And then hi to Joe Labor. He's from here in Piqua, Ohio. Hi to Hillary Gooden. We know her from the Impact Speakers Academy too.
Hi,
Hi to
Hillary.
Robert Shallow. He's from Indianapolis, Indiana. And then hi to Raheem. Hi to Sean Siegel. He's also an Impact
Hey.
Speakers Academy person. And then hi to Kelly Swartz. She's watching from Michigan. And then
Hi there.
hi to Well, that might be it. I don't know. I'm confused. But we thank you guys all so much for watching. And Rob's watching from his sofa. So, all right, we'll go ahead and jump right into this right now. But I first want to say that this show is a solution oriented program in order to help you guys that are dealing with obstacles or adversities in your life. So it's important for me because I came from a background of 2.5 months in a coma and a 3.5 month hospital stay after my car wreck to where I am now, and I want to show everybody else that it's possible. So this is very important to me. So Jean, if you would like to tell somebody of your first obstacle that you've had to deal with in your life.
Definitely. Like I mentioned before, I was born with hand deformity, so I was kind of given that obstacle at birth, I guess you could say. But the great thing about that is I have incredible parents who have always believed in me and shown me that I had this infinite potential, that I could do whatever I set my mind to. And it's because of them that I was able to push through the negativity that I went through, the bullying, and the physical limitations, and start to succeed. So like I mentioned before, I had over 20 hand surgeries just to get them functioning and operating correctly, which means most of my life I was in a cast or splint physical therapy. And Jeff knows a lot about physical therapy, but those of you who don't, it can be very taxing, very physically grueling and demanding, and it takes a lot of time and perseverance. And that's something that I had to learn at a very early age, was that I wasn't a normal kid who could just do whatever whenever. I had to have surgeries and go through physical therapy, and there were certain physical activities that I just wasn't able to do. But the fun thing was I learned how to do them in my own way. The things people thought that I would struggle with, like riding a bike, climbing the monkey bars, or something like writing, I did those actually pretty easily. In fact, when I was in preschool, we had a bike day, and all of the preschoolers had either trikes or bikes with train wheels, myself included, and we were riding around during recess with kindergartners who had two-wheel bikes. And the whistle blew, and it was time for us to go in after recess, but I stayed, and I remember thinking, I really want to ride this two-wheeler bike. So I just picked up the first pink two-wheeler bike I saw, and I just started riding. And later on that day, when my parents came to pick me up, I said, Mom, Dad, you got to come see this. And I went over to that bike I had used, which, mind you, I have no idea whose it was. I just took it, and I got on it and started riding. And my parents look over at my teacher, and they're like, did you teach her this? And they go, nope, I didn't even know she could do that. So it's kind of cool that I was able to kind of self-teach myself something that people thought I would never be able to do. So throughout my life, I've had obstacles like that, physical things that have either been challenging just because of the way that my hands are, or I honestly couldn't do them at the time. And I had to learn throughout my life that with perseverance, with positivity, that I could accomplish things. In fact, I would say my most significant hand surgery was when I was about 12, 13 years old. I had a hand surgery where, if you can see with this hand here, actually this is a better view. If you look in between my index finger and my middle finger here, there's some skin that kind of goes up further than the rest of my hand, and that's called webbing. And when hands were fused together at birth, there was skin that attached all of my fingers. And so throughout the years, I had de-webbing surgeries, as they call them, to remove that skin. And when I was born, the skin between my thumb and my index finger was up so high that I really couldn't even utilize my thumb or my index finger. So I had a very significant surgery where they removed all of that skin. And because of that, I was able to use this hand for the most part for the very first time. Before, I couldn't grip anything. I felt so bad, and unworthy and not good enough because I couldn't do something as simple as holding a pop can. And that was something that always consumed me. I'd look over at my friends and I'd see them pick up something and drink it like it was no big deal, as easy as breathing. And then very quickly, I learned that after this hand surgery, I was able to pick up a pop can and drink it with that hand for the first time. And that's just an example of a very significant physical limitation that I had, but was able to overcome through just working hard and never giving up.
That's awesome. Now, I want to take a second here and mention that Raheem is watching from Bangladesh. So, this is an
Hi, Raheem.
international show. And then I also want to mention that Sean Siegel said, "Grab life by the Coke can." And I want to say hi to Mr. Greg Walker, the big dreamer, and tell him
hey, Greg,
thank you for watching. And he says the Coke can and gives a bunch of trophies. And then I also want to say hi to Jaden Melvin. And I came to his school, so that's pretty cool. And I also want to say hi to Wendell Graham, and he's a fellow black belt speaker, and he's asking how it's going. I'm going to say phenomenal. And I also want to say hi to Megan Gregory. She is from here in Piqua, Ohio as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please share this video out. Invite some people to watch this video because Jeannie's story about her hands and all the surgeries that she has gone through over her 26 years, right?
25.
25 years. All right. Well, that's pretty phenomenal. So invite people to watch this. So I understand that that had to be a really rough thing. What was the hardest part of getting through that?
I think for me, the most difficult part about being born with deformities and going through that my entire life is that the biggest point of my life where most of my surgeries happened was when I was a very insecure middle schooler. And as a girl especially, middle school can be very difficult. Have you seen the movie Mean Girls? It's a real thing. It's not just in the movies. And I honestly believe that girls are more mean when they're younger than when they're older. At least in my experience, I dealt with bullying more often in middle school than I did into high school years. So during that middle age time where I'm still very young and it's my formative years, I'm still trying to figure out who I am. School's always changing, friends are always changing. I also had to constantly have a splint on my hand and have that kind of as a walking billboard that I was different. And I can remember a specific instance in third grade where my classmates and I during recess first discovered static electricity. And we thought it was so cool because we're learning science outside of science class. And we're like, you know what, science teacher, we can teach ourselves. And what we did is while we were on the playground, we discovered that if one person got at the top of the slide and slid down while holding their hands to the side of the slide, they would build up enough static electricity that when they got to the bottom, if there was a circle of kids holding pinkies, that when the person slid down the slide, they would tap the person at the end, and every single person that was connecting pinkies would get a static shock. And we thought this was the coolest thing ever. And so, of course, I wanted to join. So I get at the very end of the line and I link pinkies with the girl next to me, and we're having a great time practicing science in action. And then before too long, another girl sees what we're doing and wants to join in. And she looks down to grab my pinky and link pinkies, and she sees my hands and she runs away screaming. And that is a thought and a memory that will forever be imprinted on my mind. And I think when I was in third grade and that happened, that was the first time that it became very obvious to me that I was different and that wasn't okay with some people. And it's a shame. It really is a shame because I grew up with a family who embraced differences, who told us that was our strength, and that's what made it unique. It was God's gift to us. And to have someone run away screaming at the thought of being different, that was a hard pill to swallow. And it was something that I wrestled with all of middle school. And it wasn't until high school that I truly embraced what my parents had told me for so long, and that the Bible had told me for so long, which is that this was a gift and that I was born this way in the image of God. And when I accepted that and realized that this is who I am and it's actually a gift because I can talk to people that I wouldn't be able to talk to otherwise, and I can share my story and influence others, inspire them. Once I realized that it truly was a gift that I could help people with, that's when I started to, I guess, have a better attitude and embrace who I was, love myself for who I am, and overcome the obstacles that I had in my life since birth.
That is pretty darn amazing, and I am proud of you for dealing with the bullying as well as you did. But I want to take one more second here. If not, this won't be the last time. But I also want to say hi to Terry Smith. He was one of our fellow Impact Speakers Academy graduates. And then I want to say thank you to Rob and Terry for sharing it out. And then the big dreamer himself and the host of the Impact Speakers Academy, the wonderful Mr. Big Dreamer himself,
Yes.
Greg Walker, is watching, and Savannah is also watching. So that's pretty awesome.
Savannah.
And thank you, Greg, for sharing as well. So how exactly do you think you dealt with the people? Is it just your parents and everybody telling you that you were special? Did that help you get through the bullying or the tough times in middle school?
Well, I think everybody wants to hear they're special, right? And when you're a little kid, you have your family saying, "Oh, you're so special the way you are," and that's great. And it does help, but it's not always what gets you through. And to be honest, my faith has been a constant presence in my life. God has been a constant presence in my life to get me through the most difficult times. But something that I learned from my father, actually, a lesson that I will never forget, and I use it on a daily basis, is that you kill them with kindness and you laugh along with them. And I want to give you a little bit more of an example of that. So throughout my life in school, I went to several different schools. And from preschool up until 8th grade, I was in a private Christian school. And then in 8th grade, I switched to a public school. And of course, going to a new school was always something I did because I met new people and had to deal with bullying again with different people. But this time it was very different because it wasn't people who all had a foundation of faith per se. It wasn't a Christian school. And when I got there, the very first thing that I got labeled as was, okay, well, if she was at a private school, then she must be smart. So the word doctor came into play. And then throughout my life, I had always been called Nubs because, well, Nubs. So they combined the two and created a new title for me, which was Dr. Nubs. And I think most people listening might think of that and be like, man, that's awful. Kids can be really cruel. And I could have very easily taken that as my response, like, I hate this, why are people so awful? But instead, I listened to my dad's advice, which is kill them with kindness and laugh along with them. And I embraced my title. And it actually has become my social media handle. I joke about it all the time. And my senior year, I actually created a t-shirt that on the front said Dr. Nubs. And then on the back, it said, I have a PhD in nubology. So as you can see, I decided to take a title and run with it, and it's something that I use in speeches to add some humor into the obstacles that I faced throughout high school. And it's something that I really created to be my own. I'm proud of it. I'm happy to be Dr. Nubs. It makes me different. It makes me unique, not stale. There's always something that I can share and joke around with. So I'm actually thankful. The guy who first originally called me Dr. Nubs was actually my neighbor growing up in high school. And at first we didn't get along at all. And I always had the bus with him. And every day he would come up with new ways of how he thought that I must have lost my fingers. And that was something that I constantly had to struggle with every day on the bus. But then when I graduated, I remember going to him and saying, thank you. It's because of you and your title that I've been able to take that way further than I ever imagined. Actually, one of my first Toastmaster speeches where I won a competition was using the title Dr. Nubs. So I really do owe him a lot. He doesn't even realize it. Like what he started out as a diss or a bad thing truly turned into something that I've taken in stride and used to my advantage.
That's great advice, though. You have to laugh at yourself, and a lot of people have a very hard time doing that. And I don't understand why people have such a hard time doing that, but it would really help a lot. And I know that bullying is a bad thing in schools these days, but I think that's because a lot of people don't know how to laugh at themselves. They don't know how to take jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And they take everything too seriously when it is meant as a joke and not meant to offend them. And people take offense to a lot these days too.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is the fact that we're also afraid to share our insecurities, as if not everyone has them. So I think that's something that's really important to remember. My insecurities aren't your insecurities, but that doesn't mean you don't have them. You are insecure about something. You might not share it, but you are. And so I think that when we start to be more open about our insecurities and be more open about the fact that we're human, that there are things we're afraid of, that we're embarrassed of, that we're insecure about, that can actually unite us because we're all human. That's one thing we all have in common. You know, like we might be female versus male or old versus young. There's so many differences, but what puts us together and unites us is the fact that we are all human, that we all have errors, that we all have insecurities, and when we choose to embrace those instead of hide them, I think we'll find that there'll be a lot less bullying, a lot more loving on one another and encouraging each other because we're human. We all make mistakes. We all have insecurities, and that's okay. It makes us human.
That is great advice, guys. And we ask you again if you would please share this video out, invite people to watch this video because it can and it will help somebody out there, I promise you. But I want to take another second here and say have a great night too, Terry, and I hope you enjoyed watching. He said he has to go. And then
Thanks for watching, Terry.
I want to say hi to Lady Ray Ray, who's watching from Chicago, and hi to Jeanie. Yeah, Jeanie. Well, Janine.
Janine, probably.
All right. Well, Janine. She says, yeah. She says, yay. Two of my favorite people to listen to. So I thank you for that.
Thank you. Yay.
So this show is actually about other people and helping other people. And I know that's something that you do, it's something I do. So I want to ask you now if you have any ideas or tips or just things that other people can do to deal with the issues that they're dealing with in their life.
Definitely. It's interesting that you asked this because I actually just did my final speech in Toastmasters, which is a motivational speech. And those of you not familiar with Toastmasters, it's an international public speaking and leadership organization that I've been involved with since I was 18. And in this speech, I talk about basically the 3 things that I have determined that were the biggest portions of my success growing up, and what I think that you can use to become not only better yourself, but to help others and motivate others. And the first one is the 5-second rule. And this was actually created by Mel Robbins. She is a psychologist and best-selling author. She was on TED Talk. And she talks about this idea that when you wake up in the morning and you're laying in bed and you're like, I have to get up. And you have that feeling of, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go to work or school or whatever it is. In your head, you have 5 seconds where your brain is saying, I have to get up. And it's your choice whether or not you listen to that 5 seconds. And she says that it's 100% more likely that you will do things if you listen to that 5 seconds in your head. So think of the 5-second rule, like not food, not picking up off the food and wiping up and eating it, but 5 seconds in your brain telling you that it's time to do whatever the thing is. And so for me, that happened a lot with physical therapy. There were often times where I didn't want to do it, and I'd have to remind myself in those 5 seconds, no, this is going to make me better. Is it going to hurt right now temporarily? Yes, but in the long run, it will improve my life significantly. And so using that 5-second rule helps. So you can use that in your life. If there's things that you know that need to get done, people you need to talk to, places you need to go, but you've not felt like you wanted to do it, take that 5 seconds that your brain is saying, do it, and just decide to do it. It might be difficult in the first few moments, but after a while, you will find that it's much better. And the second thing that I've learned that has helped me so much is this idea of taking it one bite at a time. So when you think of projects and things that you have to accomplish and get done, sometimes it can be so overwhelming. I have to clean my entire house, or I have to have another hand surgery, or I have to get a new job. Those seem so overwhelming when you think it as a whole. But if you decide to take it just one bite at a time and think of incremental things you can do, like if you're cleaning the whole house, instead of saying that, you can say, I'm going to clean just the room today. Or if that's too much, just this one drawer. We all have junk drawers, right? So there's one little bite that you can take to make the project seem less. And in my life, that was what I had to do whenever I got overwhelmed with the fact that I had hand deformities and that I had several surgeries to go. I would often think about the fact that it's not about end goal right now. It's about what I can do to get closer. So right now it's this surgery, or right now it's going to the physical therapy appointment. So I'm sure that there are areas in your life where you can encourage others who feel overwhelmed in circumstances, and just let them know, just take one bite at a time. That's all you need to do, just one little bite. Don't worry about the big picture. I know we talk a lot about goals and dreams, and there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes it can be overwhelming. And then lastly, and I think this is the most important one, is to have a community of support. And sometimes those are people that you bring into your life specifically, the people that you know love you and that are going to be there for you to support you and give you accountability. And other times it might be people you're gifted with throughout your life. For me, it was my parents. I'm so thankful that I had them, and they were able to push me on and spur me on to continue going when I didn't want to. So if you find yourself in that position where you don't feel like going any further and you feel like there's no hope, if you don't remember all three, just remember the community of support. Specifically, put yourself in a position where you're around people who love you and are going to be there for you. They're going to reach out to you and give you that accountability. And if it's not you in that position, if somebody else is, remind them how important it is to have that community and be that community for somebody. You never know what somebody's actually going through, because we can all put on a face, a brave face, right? So being there and being ever present for somebody in need could be life-changing. It could be life-saving for them. I know it has been for me. So I hope that those three things, that taking the 5-second rule, taking one bite at a time, and finding a community of support can be helpful for you or someone that you love.
That's awesome, Jeannie. Thank you for that advice. And I hope you guys all took notes on that advice because it was fantastic advice. I've actually read the 5 second rule and I love that book. So I can definitely tell you that that's a great book. And guys out there and girls out there definitely need to read it. But I want to take one more second here and say hi to Brian Holthouse and hi to Greg Dillon. Hope you guys are having a fantastic evening. But I want to ask now, Jeannie, if you have any contact information or any other things you would like to give the audience.
Sure thing. Obviously, you can find me here on Facebook, Jeanie McGarvey. I have a Facebook page for my specific motivational business, and that is the Potential Finder. Like I said at the beginning, I believe in everyone's ability to find their infinite potential, and I want to help you discover that infinite potential. So please follow me on all social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, at the Potential Finder, and that's just the word the Potential Finder. And then I would love to hear from you. So please send me a message. I'd love to reach out and talk with you and see how I can help you discover that infinite potential that I truly, truly believe that you have.
That's awesome, Jeannie. So if you guys have any questions or anything, please leave them in the comments. I will make sure I get them answered. And you can also ask me questions if you'd like and get a hold of me anytime you'd like. I am Jeff Marconette Jr., your award winning international Make Every Second Count speaker. And I just wanted to say that thank you so much, Jeannie. I know that you're busy. I know right now you're sitting at work in the hospital. So I definitely appreciate you. But
Anytime.
everybody out there, including you, Jeannie, need to do me a favor this week, the next week, and the rest of the year, and the rest of your life. You need to make every second count. Why? Because you never know when the seconds are going to run out on your one life. Hey, you guys have a fantastic evening, and I will see you next time right here on Make Every Second Count Live.